Good morning, children, and welcome to my assembly this morning. I hope that you've had a great weekend, enjoyed the bank holiday with your families. I hope you're keeping well and keeping safe. The peace of the Lord be with you all. Let's say our vision together. I will bless you with a future filled with hope, a future of success, not of suffering. Now, I thought we'd start with this picture today. This is a really interesting picture by a very famous artist called Banksy. Now, I say he's famous, but actually almost no one knows what he actually looks like because when he does his artwork, he tends to do it at night and put it on walls and things. So people find it in the morning, but they've never actually seen him doing it. So he's quite secretive. But he has artwork all over the world, and he's become very, very famous. And there's always a message hidden in his pictures. And I wonder if you can have a look at this picture and see what the message might be. I'll give you a bit of a clue because he has painted this piece of artwork on the wall at Southampton Hospital. And this only appeared last week. So if we have a look at the picture, you can see there's a child there playing with their toys. But their superhero toys, Batman and Spider-Man, are in the toy basket at the back, and the child is playing with a nurse toy. So do you think there might be a message in this picture? Because I think that definitely Banksy is saying something about who the real superheroes are. I think he's saying Batman and Spider-Man are all very well, but the people who are being really heroic and doing really amazing things are people like nurses and care workers. So that prompted me to ask the question, who are the real superheroes? And I thought that could be an interesting thing to think about today. And there is a story in the Bible, which you know really well, called the Good Samaritan, which I think really helps us with this question about who superheroes really are. Because Jesus was asked, before he told the story of the Good Samaritan, about what you needed to do for God to be pleased with you. So Jesus told the story of the Good Samaritan, and after this film of me talking, there's a link that will take you to a really good version of the story, which I would definitely recommend you have a look at. But very briefly, the story tells us about this man who was walking from one place to another and was attacked by robbers. He was hurt very badly, and they took everything and just left him for dead at the side of the road. And he clearly needed help. And quite soon after that, a priest walked past, and he saw the man, but even though he was a priest who people respected and thought would always do the right thing, he actually walked across the road and avoided stopping. He didn't want to stop. He was perhaps a bit scared, or thought that he didn't really have time to stop and help this man, even though he needed his help. And also a lawyer who would again have been someone who people really looked up to, who was wealthy and respected in the community, didn't stop either. So the two people who you would expect to stop and help someone in need just carried on walking. And Jesus then says, but then there came a Samaritan. Now, you have to remember, children, that the Samaritans were hated by everybody. They were treated very badly, and as if they were somehow less important than everybody else. So Jesus was sending a very clear message when he started talking about the Samaritan, because in the story, it is the Samaritan that stops, looks after the man, takes him to an inn to be looked after and cared for, and pays for him to be looked after and cared for. So he does an amazing job of really looking after this person when the priest and the lawyer didn't even stop to help. And Jesus says at the end of the story, which of these men do you think was doing the right thing? Which of these men was being a good neighbor? And of course, everybody said, it is the Samaritan. And Jesus said, well, you must follow the Samaritan's example. And I think in this story, the Samaritan is a real superhero. And out of those three, when we talk about respect and reverence, I think there's a clear message from Jesus in that story that God expects us to respect people who actually do things that are good and help others. Doesn't matter if they're rich or if they're clever or have an important job. It's what they do that should earn our respect, not things that perhaps don't really matter. So that got me to think about who the real superheroes are in our society today. And of course, there are lots of examples of people that do amazing things for others. So, of course, on Friday, Bank Holiday Friday, we celebrated as a country Victory in Europe Day. So I thought I'd put some pictures of some soldiers that had taken part in the Second World War, because of course what they did was heroic. They risked their lives so that we could have the lives that we have today. But also there's lots of people that do heroic things all the time, like the man helping the elderly woman cross the road, or the man holding up the umbrella there for the person in the wheelchair to keep her dry in the rain. And then at the bottom we've got a care worker working with someone who's elderly, which is a really hard job and requires love, care and time and effort. Also, you can see the volunteers working in the food bank, getting boxes of food ready to take to people who really need it. And then there is the man who actually gives his shoes to a homeless person because he feels that they need them more than him. So I think all these people are demonstrating really heroic behavior. So shall we just take a moment to think about what we've talked about this morning? Let's be very still and bow our heads ready for our prayer. And just think about the message in the story of the Good Samaritan. Who does God really respect and see as behaving well and heroically? What could you do, children? Everybody can be a superhero. What can you do? Perhaps you could give up some time to help someone do something. Perhaps you could show an act of kindness to someone else. Give something to someone who really needs it. Dear God, please help us to see people like you see them. Not for what they look like or what they wear, but for who they are inside. Amen. Now, I think the theme of today's assembly from our mottos is love God, love others. And there's a lovely song for you to join in with, which again is on the Purple Mash blog, Behold What Manner of Love. So do join in with that, children. Maybe get your families to join in. You could even sing it as a round like we do at school. There's that picture again to finish. So thank you very much for joining me this morning. I hope you have a wonderful day and a fantastic week. Bye.